The deeper I crawled, the clearer the whisper became. It wasn't haunting anymore. It was urgent, almost like a warning. It felt like someone was trying to help me, to guide me away before whatever was in that room I'd just escaped from came back for me. This crawl space was impossibly tight. I had to drag myself forward with my elbows, the cold, musty dust coating my skin, turning it gray. Faint vibrations traveled through the walls, a low thrumming that told me the creature had returned. It was back in the room, searching for me. The whisper was my only guide, pulling me toward a faint glow at the far end of the tunnel. It was a pale blue shimmer, pulsing softly, rhythmically, like a heartbeat. The closer I got, the more familiar the whisper sounded. It was her, the woman from the mirror. Her trembling voice echoed through the tunnel, as if the very walls held her memory, her fear, and her desperation. I finally reached the end of the passage and tumbled out into a hidden chamber. It was carved right into the foundation of the building, a forgotten maintenance room that must have been sealed off for decades. Broken tools and stacks of old, yellowed documents were scattered everywhere. In the center of the room sat a single rusted boiler, humming with a low, painful vibration that seemed to shake my very bones. And there, on the floor, half buried in dust, was a small metal box. The whisper grew stronger, a gentle but firm push inside my mind, urging me to open it. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely lift the lid. Inside, I found a stack of old, faded photographs. They all showed the same woman from the mirror, but here she was alive, smiling, standing proudly in the very hallway I had just run from. Beneath the photos was a torn work badge. The plastic was cracked, but the name was still legible. Zara, maintenance staff, missing 1998. The whisper tightened around my thoughts, now filled with a grief so profound it almost brought me to my knees. And in that moment, everything clicked. Zara wasn't haunting me. She was trapped here, just like I was. She had been silenced by the same thing that was now hunting me, a creature that had lurked in this building long before I ever set foot inside. Before I could even process this horrifying realization, the entire chamber trembled violently. Dust rained down from the ceiling, and a cold dread washed over me. I could feel it. The creature was in the crawlspace behind me. I could hear its slow, deliberate dragging movements echoing down the metal tunnel, a countdown to my own end. The whisper flared again, sharper this time, desperate. It wasn't just guiding me anymore, it was pushing me, driving me toward the old humming boiler. That's when I saw it. A small circular hatch on its side, glowing with that same faint blue light. Without a second thought, guided by pure instinct or maybe by Zara's last desperate push, I yanked the hatch open. Inside, there was a hidden switch and a note, scratched hastily into the metal. Seal it, before it finds another. It hit me like a physical blow. Zara had tried to do this herself. She had tried to trap the creature all those years ago and failed. But she didn't just give up. She left a way for someone else to finish what she couldn't. The tunnel behind me grew pitch black as the creature crawled closer, blocking out what little light there was. The scraping of its limbs against the metal walls grew louder, more frantic. I could hear its breathing, a thick, uneven gurgle that was far, far too close. I didn't hesitate. I grabbed the switch and pulled it down with all my strength. Sparks flew from the boiler, and I heard the deep, grinding sound of gears turning within the walls, coming to life for the first time in over 20 years. A deep rumble shook the entire building. The crawl space behind me suddenly lit up with a harsh, terrifying red glow as heavy metal panels began sliding shut from both ends of the tunnel. The creature let out a horrifying shriek and lunged in a burst of unnatural speed. Its shadow stretched violently toward me, its form distorted and monstrous in the red light. But it was too late. The sealing mechanism slammed down just inches from its grasp, trapping it inside the tunnel. The walls shook with its rage as it thrashed against the metal, pounding and clawing, but the old system held strong. I heard the satisfying clunk of the gears locking into place. The creature was sealed. The pounding continued for what felt like an eternity, but gradually it weakened, eventually fading into a long, echoing silence that left the chamber completely still. I collapsed against the boiler, my chest heaving, every muscle in my body screaming. And then I felt it. Zara's whisper, one last time. It was no longer desperate or filled with grief. It was soft, gentle, and filled with relief. It whispered my name, not as a warning, but as a farewell. And for the first time since I entered this building, the air around me felt warm, peaceful, and free. I don't know how long I stayed in that chamber, just catching my breath, letting the silence wash over me. Hours, maybe. When I finally found the strength to move, I crawled back through a different maintenance path that led into the main hallway. Everything was different. The lights no longer flickered. The air was still, no longer vibrating with that constant oppressive hum. The entire building felt like it had finally exhaled after decades of holding its breath. My eyes were drawn to the mirror hanging crookedly on the wall. I stepped in front of it, and this time, the reflection showed only me. Tired, covered in dust, but alive. The faint, ethereal outline of Zara was gone. Her presence, her pain, was finally at rest. As I stepped outside into the quiet pre-dawn air, I knew the whisper would never return. Zara had finally been heard, and the thing that had taken her, the thing that had haunted this place for so long, was sealed forever beneath the building, buried in darkness and silence. Thank you so much for coming along on this terrifying journey with me. It was one of the most intense experiences of my life, and I'm just glad I made it out to tell the tale. If you enjoyed this story and want to see more content like it, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps me out more than you know. And don't forget to ring that notification bell so you don't miss the next adventure. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next video. Adeel sat in the living room with every single light turned on, his eyes locked on the hallway as if it were a living, breathing creature. A tightness constricted his chest, his throat was sandpaper dry, and his mind was a broken record, playing the same terrifying thought over and over. What happens when that door finally opens? Midnight crawled across the walls, a slow, inky stain. The weak bulbs flickered, making the shadows dance and shift in unsettling ways. The air itself felt thick, heavy, as if the entire apartment was holding its breath right along with him. Adeel glanced at his phone. The screen glowed, 2:07 a.m., that strange, liminal hour when the veil between worlds feels its thinnest. And that's when it happened. A single, soft knock. It wasn't aggressive, a sound coming from the sealed door at the end of the hall. Adeel's breath hitched in his throat. His heartbeat stumbled, missing a beat before hammering against his ribs. Instantly, a whisper slid into the room, as if pulled from the ether by the sound itself. "Don't answer," Adeel whispered back, his voice trembling. I wasn't going to." The whisper seemed to tremble too, as though relieved, but then it spoke again, its voice weaker, more fragile this time. "It's testing. The wood." Adeel refused to imagine what it looked like. He forced his mind blank, not wanting to picture its hands, its shape, its face. But his brain, a cruel and creative traitor, filled the silence with horrors far worse than anything he could consciously imagine. This time, the sound was softer, like a child knocking just to hear how hollow the world sounded on the other side. The sound sent a fresh wave of ice through Adeel's veins. He couldn't sit still anymore. He stood abruptly, the sudden movement feeling loud in the crushing silence. He walked to the kitchen, his hands shaking so badly he could barely pour a glass of water. He tried to breathe, to calm the frantic drum in his chest. The whisper drifted behind him, a terrified shadow clinging to his back. Adeel froze mid-step, the glass halfway to his lips. He didn't even want to swallow the water in his mouth, terrified the sound might attract it. The very idea made his skin crawl with 1,000 tiny, unseen legs. He set the glass down slowly on the counter, too slowly. It clinked against the granite. The whisper hissed, a sudden burst of panic. Too loud, too loud, too loud. Just a tiny, insignificant sound, but it was enough to freeze Adeel right where he stood. He turned his head slowly, agonizingly toward the hallway. But this silence wasn't empty. It was a watchful silence. Adeel backed away from the kitchen, retreating into the relative safety of the living room, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his spine. He snatched his phone and desperately dialed a friend's number. The call failed. The whisper spoke, its voice faint and full of dread. It doesn't let signals in or out. The floor seemed to drop out from under Adeel. The apartment wasn't just haunted, it was a trap, and whatever was locked inside that sealed room wasn't meant to leave. But something was changing. The whisper. It didn't sound the same, as if something was draining its strength, siphoning its very essence. Adeel asked softly, his own voice barely a breath, "Are you okay?" A heavy, pregnant pause hung in the air. Then, "It's learning me." Adeel frowned, confusion warring with his terror. "Learning you?" "It listens when I whisper," the voice explained, each word a struggle. "It copies what I say. It grows when I speak." A profound chill, colder and deeper than any before, ran through Adeel. The horrifying realization dawned on him. "So, every time you warn me, it gets stronger." The whisper didn't answer. Its silence was more damning than any confirmation. Adeel sank onto the couch, his hands gripping his hair, his mind racing, searching for an escape, a loophole, anything. If the whisper was weakening, its warnings wouldn't last forever. And if the thing behind the door was learning, then soon it wouldn't need the whisper's warnings. It would know exactly how to reach him. Deep in the hallway, a new sound began. A slow, sharp scraping on the inside of the sealed door, like long untrimmed fingernails dragging across old wood. The whisper's tone shattered, breaking into a raw, primal fear that Adeel had never heard from anything, living or dead. "Don't move." Adeel stopped breathing. "Don't breathe." His lungs ached. His eyes began to water. His chest felt like it was on fire. And from the hallway, something pressed against the door. A shape, a shadow. A bulge appeared in the wood itself, as if a great weight was leaning into it, testing its strength, testing the rules of this prison. Adeel's vision blurred as he held his breath, the world swimming in front of him. For a long, terrifying second, the door bowed inward. It didn't break, but it bent. Like something inside was pushing with a slow, calm, horrifying confidence. Only then did the whisper give him permission. "It's awake." Adeel gasped, choking on the air his body so desperately craved. He scrambled backward until his back hit the cold wall. His mind screamed at him to run, to get out, anywhere, down the stairs, out of the building. But the whisper's warning cut through his panic. "If you leave, it follows sound," it said, the voice stretched thin. "Every hallway, every room, you won't outrun it." Adeel shook his head violently, tears of terror and frustration streaming down his face. "I can't stay here. I can't." "You must." The whisper cut him off, its tone absolute. "Why me?" Adeel's voice cracked, breaking on a sob. "Why is it after me?" A long silence stretched, heavy with unspoken truth. Then the whisper finally told him. "The moment you heard me, it heard you." Adeel shut his eyes, the simple words sealing his fate. The whisper continued, its voice trembling on the edge of dissolution. "It only needed one sound to remember you. For the moment, I'm gone." Adeel whispered, his eyes flying open. "What do you mean, gone?" The hallway light flickered violently, then died. The whisper was weakening, like a dying candle flame about to be snuffed out. "I can't hold it anymore. The door won't last." Adeel looked toward the sealed door, now cloaked in darkness. The bulge in the wood was larger. He couldn't see it, but he could feel it. Something on the other side smiled. The whisper shivered, its voice breaking apart, dissolving into the suffocating silence. When the door opens, it rasped its final warning. Don't turn around. Then silence. Not the watchful silence from before. Adeel didn't remember falling asleep, but he woke up on the couch with the morning light pressed against his face. His neck ached, his head throbbed, and his phone lay on the floor, still recording nothing but silent static. The whole apartment felt colder than usual, and he couldn't tell if it was the weather or something else. He sat up, swallowed hard, and stared down the hallway. Everything looked normal. Too normal. Silent. Still. Harmless. Like nothing had whispered his name in the darkness only hours before. Adeel stood slowly, walked into the hallway, and stopped midway. He waited. He listened. He held his breath. Maybe if he stood absolutely still, the whisper would sense him again. But nothing happened. No voice, no breath, no whisper, just the muted hum of the ceiling light. For a moment, he almost laughed. Maybe he was losing it. Maybe loneliness and long nights were getting to him. Maybe the whisper was just stress that his brain turned into a sound. But the moment he stepped into his bedroom to grab his keys, thud. Adeel jerked back around. Another thud, this time louder, coming from the sealed door at the end of the hallway. He stared at the door, heart thudding in sync with whatever was behind it. Then the whisper came again. Sharp, frightened, urgent. Go back, go back, go back. Adeel stumbled into his bedroom and shut the door. His hands shook as he pressed his back against it. His breath trembled. The whisper wasn't threatening him. It was begging him to leave. But leave what? Or who? Or what's inside that door? He sat on the floor for what felt like hours, listening for any sound. When the apartment finally went silent again, he stood up, washed his face, and stared at himself in the mirror. He looked tired, pale, eyes slightly red from strain. What is this place? He whispered to himself. He didn't get an answer. Not from himself, not from the hallway. For the rest of the day, he stayed out of the apartment as much as he could. He walked aimlessly through streets, sat in a cafe, tried reading something on his phone, tried watching people. Anything to not think about the whisper, anything to not think about the sealed door. But when night came, he returned home. He had to. He didn't want to, but he had nowhere else to go. The moment he stepped inside, he felt it again. The weight in the air, the heaviness near the hallway, the temperature dropping slightly. The whisper didn't speak right away. Instead, something else made a sound, a slow, dragging movement, like fingertips sliding across wood. Adeel froze. The sealed door wasn't supposed to make any sound. It was painted shut, dead, abandoned, yet something was moving behind it. He backed away from the hallway, eyes wide, breath shallow. His instinct told him to run again, but something kept him rooted. He whispered shakily, who are you?" For a long moment, silence answered. Then, "Please." A soft, trembling voice filled the hallway. "Don't let it see you." Adeel's knees went weak. This wasn't a warning anymore. This was desperation, fear. The whisperer sounded like someone who'd been trapped in terror for too long. He swallowed, his voice cracking. "What's behind the door? What is it?" The whisper didn't answer his question. It only repeated, "Don't let it see you." Before Adeel could respond, his phone buzzed loudly in his pocket. The sudden vibration made him flinch hard. He grabbed it, just a text message from a delivery service. But the sound triggered something. The whisper hissed sharply. "Quiet!" Adeel snapped his head toward the sealed door, just in time to hear it. A soft, slow exhale from behind the painted wood. Not human, not tired, hungry. Adeel stepped back, then again. The door didn't move, but the sound behind it did, like someone shifting closer, pressing their face against the other side. He fled to the living room, breathing hard, refusing to look back. The whisper followed him, moving through the air, circling him like a frightened shadow. You shouldn't have heard me. It knows you now. It remembers sounds. Adeel dropped to his knees, hands pressed against his ears. Please, stop. Just tell me what you want. The whisper went painfully silent. Then it said, in the softest, most broken tone yet, I want you to survive. The lights flickered. The door at the end of the hallway groaned, not opening, but flexing, as if something inside pushed gently against it. Adeel stared wide-eyed. He understood now. The whisper wasn't the danger. The whisper was protecting him from the real danger, the thing sealed away behind that door. But for how long? That night, Adeel didn't sleep. Every few minutes, the whisper breathed warnings into the air, as if constantly checking whether the thing behind the door was still contained. And the thing behind the door kept moving. Slowly, patiently, awake. Adeel realized something horrifying. If the whisper was growing weaker and whatever was inside the room was growing stronger, then the night the door opens would not be far away. Thank you so much for joining me on this chilling journey. What do you think is behind the door, and what will happen to Adeel? Let me know your theories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more tales from the shadows. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.